They say America is a land of reason, of law, of progress. But if you peel back the stars and stripes, you'll find something else. A history steeped in fear, in superstition, in rituals so disturbing they sound made up until you discover they really happened. In this journey, we're digging up the strange traditions that built America from the ground up. Literally. You'll hear about marriages with corpses, safety coffins rigged with bells, toxic beauty trends, and child auctions where kids were traded for oranges. And by the end, you may wonder if we've truly evolved or just given our fears new names. Let's begin with love, or rather, the absence of it. In the 1800s, a grieving woman might be seen placing a ring on a photograph, a lock of hair, a cold hand in a coffin. She wasn't saying goodbye. She was saying, "I do." This was posthumous marriage, a living person wedding someone who had died. It wasn't rare. It wasn't mocked. It was sacred. If a fiancé died before the wedding, the ceremony still took place. If a woman was pregnant, marriage to the deceased father protected the child's future. It was about honor, closure, duty to the dead. And to this day, a few U.S. states still recognize posthumous marriage under rare circumstances. Even in death, some promises couldn't be broken. Now imagine attending church on a Sunday morning. You're not there to pray. You're there to watch someone get whipped. In Puritan New England, sin wasn't just between you and God. It was a public matter. Men and women were tied to wooden posts inside churches and flogged, sometimes during services, for adultery, for blasphemy, even for gossip. Fathers brought their children to watch because pain was correction and shame was salvation. This wasn't punishment, it was worship. But for women in early America, there was another unspoken rule. Your appearance was your power, and to preserve that power, some turned to poison. Mercury tonics were prescribed to lift moods and ease female hysteria. White lead paint was applied to skin for that ghostly porcelain glow believed to show wealth and virtue. It brightened, it smoothed. It also rotted the skin, loosened the teeth, and caused madness. Yet women still used it. Because in a society that valued beauty above all, to be beautiful was to be safe, even if it killed you slowly. But nothing gripped the American imagination quite like tuberculosis, the wasting sickness, the White Death. No one knew how it spread. So when entire families fell ill, towns turned to folklore. They blamed vampires. Yes, real, exhumed vampires. In rural New England, graves were opened. Corpses were inspected for red cheeks, fresh blood, or lack of decay. If the body looked alive, the heart was removed, burned, and sometimes fed to the living. The most famous case? Mercy Brown, 1892. Just 19 years old. Her family dug her up, burned her heart, and fed the ashes to her brother. He died anyway. But the story never left, and that hunger for healing didn't die with Mercy. In the early 1900s, science had a new answer: radium, bottled, glowing, sold as a miracle. We called it Radithor. It promised energy, youth, even sexual vitality. Socialites drank it. Athletes swore by it. And Eben Byers, a wealthy businessman, drank it by the case. He said he felt amazing until his bones collapsed and his jaw disintegrated. He died in agony. But the labels never stopped selling, because when desperation meets belief, people will drink anything. Even the food on your plate wasn't safe from superstition. For decades, Americans feared tomatoes. They were called poison apples, associated with sickness and death. The real problem? Rich people ate them on pewter plates filled with lead. The acid in tomatoes pulled the lead into the food, poisoning them slowly. But no one blamed the metal. They blamed the fruit. Until 1820, when Colonel Robert Johnson stood on the steps of a New Jersey courthouse and publicly ate a tomato. A crowd watched in horror, expecting him to die. He didn't. And just like that, the tomato was saved. But above ground wasn't the only place people feared. Beneath America's great cities, another world thrived. During the Great Depression, thousands of people moved underground into tunnels, sewers, and abandoned train stations. They were called the Mole People. Families built homes out of scrap wood and cardboard. Some had stoves, beds, even bookshelves. It wasn't just survival, it was community. They lived in darkness, but they lived with dignity. And parts of those communities still exist today, hidden beneath the noise of modern life. Not all survival was hidden. Some of it was horrifyingly public. Public hangings in early America were major events. Posters were printed. Crowds gathered. Families brought food. Vendors sold snacks. Parents lifted children to get a better view. It wasn't justice. It was spectacle. In one 1845 hanging in Kentucky, over 10,000 people attended, more than the population of the town. Executions were moral theater. The rope, the silence, the final drop. This was how early America taught right from wrong, with death as the teacher. But what if death wasn't the end? What if death was just a mistake? In the 1800s, before stethoscopes and brain scans, doctors sometimes declared people dead when they weren't. So began one of America's most chilling traditions, the safety coffin. Some were fitted with bells, others had air tubes, flags, or even small windows. Graveyards hired night watchmen to sit and listen. And yes, some coffins were later exhumed with scratch marks inside. To be buried alive wasn't a myth, it was a possibility. A fear so great, people designed their burials around it. And speaking of fear, let's talk about the orphan trains. From the 1850s to the 1920s, more than 200,000 children were loaded onto trains and sent west to be adopted. Some found loving homes. Many didn't. They were lined up, inspected like livestock, muscles squeezed, teeth checked. One boy was traded for a sack of oranges. This was America's answer to poverty. Ship the problem away. A child's fate decided at a train stop, not by love, but by labor. So what does all of this mean? Was old America simply cruel? Or were they doing the only thing they could in a world ruled by disease, death, and desperation? Every ritual you've heard, from vampire hearts to radioactive water, wasn't madness. It was meaning. It was the attempt to control chaos, to restore balance, to find peace in a terrifying world. And maybe we haven't changed at all. So here's the question. Which of these forgotten traditions shocked you the most? And do you see echoes of them in today's world? Subscribe if you are ready to uncover more of America's hidden past. Because sometimes the scariest truths are the ones we forgot.